How did Final Fantasy XI get to the state that it's at right now? Final Fantasy XI, at its inception, was a generational and influential game. It was often, regardless, overlooked as a mediocre title in the Final Fantasy series, right? But regardless, the people who actually played it, they loved it, and they still love it, and they come back um, almost systematically, right? They come back and then they check it, and then they come and they leave. Um, the game on its inception was incredibly difficult, and it pushed the narrative of team play and the six-man party. The game profited off of subscriptions, and when Abyssia came out, it changed the dynamic of the game entirely. Um, it turned the 12 or 18-man party system to be something relatively normal for experience. Um, and during that period is when you found a lot of enthusiasm for the game and both a lot of pushback. And the enthusiasm came from people who wanted to catch up on endgame stuff and wanted to um, play the game new and just have fun, right? But the older players, they felt a little bit disrespected because of how their level 75 gear became essentially obsolescent in lieu of all the new gear and all the new items and new level cap. And so you saw a lot of people like um, leave and a lot of new people come in. And I personally like the BC. I really like the new stuff, even though I did still feel very disrespected because I had gone through Chains of Promathia with no level cap, and so they essentially made my efforts obsolescent. But I kind of overlooked it because of the new flexibility allowed with the level cap and Abyssia and AFK leveling. So I was like when AFK leveling first started was during the Abyssia time frame, and I think what happened with this system in the game is there there was a stark change in the culture of the game. So when the game first came out, it was more like your efforts were directly tied into how your character progression appeared. So like if you worked hard, your character was well geared and looked good and played good and fought good. But slowly but surely, that took over to I'm gonna buy my way to my top. I'm gonna buy my way to the top, and that's always been the case, but it hasn't been so profound as it is now. In 2026, Final Fantasy XI is more of a gambling and adult simulator where people obviously pay to win, right? And again, that's always been the case, but it hasn't been so profound as it is now. And I think this is the essential outcome of any game that's very old is you get this kind of bartering gambling system with real money. And you know, one can argue that it is not pay to play because there's no in-game um, there's no like in-game items to buy. But who's to say that these services and these items are not provided by Square Enix surreptitiously? And what I mean by that is like maybe these people who RMT, maybe these people who power level, maybe these people who sell clears, maybe they work for Square Enix. We really don't know, right? So I can't really dismiss that it's not pay to play, and even if we obviate that it is, right? with giving examples like third-party websites selling stuff, right? It might be even Square Enix themselves. Who knows? Um, but regardless, so what essentially happened is a lot of people left, and the buy to win system just started becoming more and more profound to a point where it's at its peak right now. Um, and the other issue is that there's just simply too much. There's simply too much stuff, too much content, and you need too much inventory space. And the game is still fundamentally addictive because you can get a dopamine max off of it, but not as profound as you did before. Because it's very solitary gameplay now, so it's not necessarily the most fun sort of dynamic. And I think it's just a factor of age. The game turned out the way it is now because it's just a very old game. There's a lot of secret pay to play kind of services, and a lot of people just don't want to be associated with spending money in the game, at least the adults, right? And adults don't have a lot of time to spend in video games. And if they do, right, they want to maximize results by spending money or placing their efforts in another system which rewards their time. And that's why you have private servers. Um, I think it's really time for Final Fantasy XI to remake itself. And I'm not saying not to reward these people for all their hard work and their money placed in game. You could carry over those items, especially like the end game weapons. You can carry on the items to a remake so that you satisfy the loyal and you satisfy people who spend a lot of money building their characters. But the way the system is now, it's not good because there's a postponed level of satisfaction and group work. Group work is there, but you need to work yourself to group work, and that's just really unacceptable, especially for a game like Final Fantasy 11. I want to group as soon as I start playing the game. I want to enjoy the game as soon as I start playing the game. I don't want to build my way up to having fun. That doesn't make a lot of sense, and that's where it is right now. You have to build yourself up to have fun with other people, and these changes that the game in place during the years were necessary changes, because you just had to embrace it. Like, if they did not embrace, let's say, level cap, did not embrace the higher levels, people would stop playing and the content would not be able to be accomplished by newer players. And so that's why they did these things, right? However, um, you can run a system where there is no level cap and there is no pay to play, but it kind of cuts into profits. And when you're a for-profit company, you have to consider profit first. But I think Final Fantasy 11 is coming to a point where no one's actually really playing the game anymore. Like, no one's actually staying after they check out the areas and the new stuff. And that's why I'm saying it's definitely a time for the game to be remade. And I'm hoping, and I'm making this video so that Square Enix can remake the game. I'm hoping for a remake because I still love Final Fantasy 11, even though I canceled my account and all that stuff. I've always hoped for a remake and a better version of the game. And a better version to me is group play, and yeah, that's what it really is. Like, that's the most fun part about Final Fantasy 11 is just group play, right? There's no group play. Why bother even playing the game? This is getting back to what I said before, but in order for Final Fantasy 11 to like really thrive, it just needs to die, and we almost had something with the Final Fantasy 11 mobile, but looking back into those images, you see how mediocre it was looking, right? And all we can do now is just wait. That's all we can do with Final Fantasy 11 is just wait and see what happens.